So the Competition Commission has referred Meta Platforms Incorporated, which is previously known as Facebook, to the Competition Tribunal for prosecution. Facebook threatened to remove government online platform GovChat from its subsidiary WhatsApp. The Commission says this is an abuse of market dominance and wants the tribunal to impose a maximum penalty of about 10% of its collective turnover. To help us understand what exactly is going on here, let's bring in the Commissioner at the Competition Commission. That's Tembinkosi, Bonakele, who's with us via our video link this morning. Great to see you, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time. I imagine a lot of what we have to do today is break things down. So as a start, help us understand what it is exactly Facebook did that got them in hot water.
So Facebook, morning to you and the viewers, owns an app. It's called WhatsApp Business Application Programming Interface. This enables them to offer businesses and large organizations a platform through which they could interact with their staff, with their customers. They can do e-commerce. So it's more of an enhanced communication mechanism that relies on Facebook's technology and capacity to gather data. So what GovChat has done is, over the years, they've gotten into this platform, innovated on it, on the aspect of interface with members of the public for government services. So they are able to talk to social grants beneficiaries. They are able to talk to people who are wanting to follow developments around COVID-19 and so on and so on. So they have created intrinsic value on an existing Facebook platform. So what Facebook is doing now is saying, we want to remove, they've communicated their intention that we want to remove you from Facebook. And they have not disclosed why they want to remove, but we know from our investigation that they themselves are desirous of monetizing this platform. In other words, doing it themselves or using a company that is related or associated with them. So this, in our view and in our law, constitutes an exclusionary conduct, which is a form of abuse of dominance. So when you are as dominant as Facebook, your service cannot be easily replicated. It's called a scarce good. This scarce good, you cannot just refuse a person when you can, in fact, reasonably provide it to them.
Okay. So just to make sure everyone's on the same page, there's a technology called GovChat. GovChat uses WhatsApp Business to do its work, essentially to speak to, as you've mentioned, beneficiaries of SASSA, etc., etc. This has added intrinsic value to WhatsApp, which we know is a subsidiary of Facebook. Facebook recognizes that potentially, and now they want to essentially co-opt that value. They want to do this themselves, a service which was initially given by GovChat. Have I got that right?
You got that right, yes. And what's crucial is that GovChat cannot replace Facebook as a platform in order to continue providing the service.
Interestingly, in your statement, you also mentioned that the terms and conditions that are governing WhatsApp Business shield Facebook from essentially getting any kind of potential business. I can see how GovChat is potential business because of your explanation, but are you able to tell us a bit more about what it is about the terms and conditions and the way that they're, I guess, instituted that shields Facebook from this?
Well, essentially, it's competition. So Facebook has retained for itself these kinds of possibility to enter into this market. And when it enters, any competitor such as GovChat, which uses its platform, can be excluded. So you see a lot of terms and conditions like that that are very unfair to anyone who wants to innovate using the Facebook platform, because you can be kicked out at any time. They still own that information, and they can still also gather data from you. So all the data that GovChat is picking up from citizens who are using government platforms, they are entitled to use all of that data. So it's unfair terms that are favored against competitors in favor of WhatsApp.
Yeah. It's also, I guess, quite suspect that there aren't any reasons given by Facebook why they want to discontinue GovChat. But do you envision any legitimate reasons why this might happen? Because my understanding from you is that we kind of presuming that it's because there's fears of some kind of potential competition that GovChat poses to Facebook?
Well, there is no other rational reason that we think can be put forward except competition reasons. So that's why we have filed the case, which gives them an opportunity to answer. But we've been at this for 2 years. We've been investigating this for 2 years. We find no cogent reasons except to restrict competition.
In the interim, GovChat is not functional on Facebook, you say? On WhatsApp, sorry.
No, they are. No, they
okay.
are. Actually, what happened is that they went and they obtained an interdict pending our investigation. Now that our investigation is finalized, we've said that we are referring the case, but we are also asking for an interdict. In other words, they must continue being in the platform until the case has been finalized.
Right. What you're also asking for is for a maximum penalty against Facebook if, I imagine, they're found to be in the wrong. But I wonder whether you find, if this actually, Tembinkosi, I beg your pardon, if this actually works. Because we know companies, for instance, like Facebook and WhatsApp, amass sometimes even billions of rand, and 10% is something that they could just simply pay off and continue with this anti-competitive behavior.
No, actually, this will have a significant impact on their business in South Africa. So it's a turnover of on a 10% on turnover. It's not a 10% on profits. It's turnover on the income that you receive as a result of operating in that market. So it's going to be quite a significant number for Facebook. We think that it is deterrent enough, but I think that what's important is there is also a component of an interdict that accompanies this. So it's a kind of an order that says you must cease what you are doing.
Speak to me generally about how we are faring when it comes to, I guess, having a handle over social media platforms. And I ask this because in many instances, even governments are struggling, for instance, to impose laws against social media companies, which have they reach that stretch beyond borders, which mean that it's difficult, for instance, to try and interdict a company whose headquarters are in the US when you're trying to apply South African laws. Is that a challenge that you find you're running into as you try to clamp down on anti-competitive behavior, specifically by social media platforms?
That's correct. All of these platforms, digital markets generally, governments all over the world are behind the curve when it comes to regulation. We've seen a lot of a massive innovation, particularly the ability to gather data. So it enables platforms such as Facebook and WhatsApp to dominate the markets to a tipping point. In other words, to a point where their position is unassailable. No one else can reach that level of data collection and monetizing of data. So traditionally, we've had provisions in the laws that allow authorities to deal with abuse of dominance. But really, we've never seen dominance acquired so fast and in such massive scale that many countries around the world are now reviewing their own laws to see if they can respond easily into this. For example, Germany has a law that deals with gatekeepers. So the platforms that are regarded as gatekeepers, you can't get into e-commerce without getting into a particular platform. That's regarded as a gatekeeper. So we ourselves have put up a policy statement on digital markets, which sets out our priorities and what we think should be done. So we are playing catch-up as regulators. You are quite right, but we are not the only ones. Everybody is doing the same.
That in mind, if Facebook is sanctioned in this particular case, would that be precedent-setting? In other words, is this the first of its kind?
Absolutely. In South Africa, yes, it will be. But the European Union and a few other authorities have also been clamping down on companies like Google, for example, for self-preferencing and things like that. So there is precedent elsewhere in the world around how to deal with some of these. But certainly it will be precedent here in South Africa. It's our first.
All right. Interesting times indeed. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us. Really do appreciate it. That there is Tembinkosi, who is the commissioner with the Competition Commission. Once again, thanks very much for your time.